Hey everyone, and welcome to the final race of the Bwoah Racing League Season 3 based on the F1 2019 game. I'm Sarthak, and beside me as always Rudra. How are you doing, bro?
Pleasure, and have our hearts racing right now. Turkish GP, and I hope we get a similar vibe from the German GP.
And for sure, like after that kind of race in real Formula 1, I'm looking forward to see what's gonna pop up here today, what kind of battles we're gonna see at the German track where we were at a couple of months ago, but that ended up being postponed and we decided to reschedule it again after all the races, and here we are today.
True, and this is also the last time we'll be seeing Hockenheim on BRL and the RoadRunnerRacingCo channel.
Yes.
Because it's sadly not there from next season.
Yeah, unfortunate for that, but for sure we will see the best performances. Hopefully we will see the best of the best performance from each of these drivers. We've got Thor coming back, who was in the Williams, but today he'll be driving the Mercedes AMG. We got Rocketman, who's back. Unfortunate that we'll be missing out on Thunderbird as well as the Supreme Leader, who both couldn't make it for the race, but I think about 17 to 18 drivers should be there out on track today.
Really good turnout. This will upset the constructor standings quite a bit, but that's what makes it even spicier.
And for the 8 of y'all who've tuned in already, make sure you drop in the chat who are you here for, which driver string you along to watch the race, and who do you think is going to come out on top. First off, of course, is shock qualifying, where each driver gets a shot at determining their grid position going into the race. They get 18 minutes to do so you'll see them come out for multiple laps. Any bold predictions, Ruza, right off the bat?
Oh, this is a tough one. Like, we have dynamic weather, of course, but anything can happen in that way. So maybe I'm going to hold out on my prediction until I see the weather.
All right. So I'm going to put out a prediction either way. I think Thor's going to look mighty strong, and both the Mercedes, in fact, considering his teammate is Freeze, and we've seen him definitely get good results in qualifying in a couple of races. And once you say Freeze, let's not forget about Rusty Nish, who's always beside him, either ahead or behind, but for sure they're fighting out more often than not. And of course, Big Man Joe's here too.
True, and this race might just give them the tiniest of boosts for what's in store for next season, which our viewers will soon find out. It's all hush hush right now, but you have every right to be excited about this.
Yeah, and in the chat, couple of drivers. Big Man Joe says all the best to everyone, and we've got Rusty Nish as well. Let's keep it clean, says Rusty Nish. I'm sure he's been caught off guard multiple times going into turn 1 once the race starts. So let's hope none of that happens here today. Either way, looks like we will be set to go for shock qualifying in a bit. Hockenheim Ring. It will be such a spin-off if we end up seeing it being a dry to wet or wet to dry race.
Could be, but not possible.
And as we
However, this track is very unpredictable, so I don't know what to expect at this point.
Unfortunately, we won't be having only Kapi as well. He is busy as well. He was in the Racing Point. Replacing him is VPA, and his teammate remains Hyrox 24. And we are set to go shock qualifying in Germany. (17, 18 drivers, 11 of you all in the chat. Make sure you show your support to the driver you're here for. And let's see if the one you're here for actually comes out on top. Fair turnout. We've got both the Ferraris on track, Rudra. We got both the Haas on track. We got both the Mercs on track. We got both the Alfa Romeos on track as well. And yes, it is rain. there will be rain for qualifying.
The rain gods have answered for one final time this season.
I'm pretty sure all the drivers are grinning after watching that real Formula 1 race, which just ended a couple minutes ago. What race that was. Disappointing for Leclerc to lose out on the podium that way, but you got to see a Ferrari on the podium regardless.
True, and who knows, this might be the last podium for Seb for Ferrari.
Yeah, possibly.
Even then, I'm just glad that you have at least a podium in every season he drove for Ferrari, so that is something to remember.
Yeah, for sure. First one out of the pits. Here is a Red Bull, Sick Nig, coming out the pits. He tends to do that. He's always ready, set to go, regardless of the conditions at any track for that matter, on his outlap. And his teammate SV11, he's a race winner himself. Let's see if Sick Nig is planning on getting a race win here today. It's the last race, so could we possibly see a new winner at the BRL?
But he is ruled out right now because it's a wet race, and we all know what happened in the real wet race in Hockenheim last year.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Verstappen coming on top. And Seb on the podium with Kvyat right up there. And also in the chat, Rudra Allen says, but Seb still made our day. He did, didn't he?
He always makes our day, regardless of where he ends up in the race results.
And the avocado in the other Ferrari, partnering Rusty Nish. We got the Williams of RB Ferrero, 18 drivers out on track. I wonder who's going to come on top. 16 minutes left to shock qualifying. Been a while since we saw a couple of these drivers, so possibly being on them, on their onboards, is the wisest thing to do. The avocado in the Ferrari. What kind of lap will he set out? Sector 3 goes yellow. I'm guessing a driver is going slow on that part of the track.
Almost have a full group. We're so close. This itself is really nice.
Car number 9, the avocado. 4-5 drivers are on track, and it's always nice to see Rudra, our good friend Gauts, is out on track.
Yeah, one last hurrah before we close the season, and he had to be there.
Of course. Yep. Glad to see him out there. And let's see what kind of lap time he'll put in. Looks like he's got a purple sector 1.
Not so bad, gods.
And Rocketman ahead of him, another driver coming in here after quite some time. Last time around he had an issue with his input device and his PC. I think he's all prepped for a good finish here today.
Drivers look very strong given the recent race results. They have been on really good form, and it should show today.
Yeah. And a bunch of drivers are on the outlaps. We got UK, KDB, Rocketman, Rusty Nish, SV11, Vixie56 and BPA coming out on their outlap. Looks like Gauts is the only driver on the fast lap, but Sick Nick just set the fastest lap time so far. 1 minute 27.043 is the time to beat.
And also, I don't know if you noticed, but Gots also set the fastest sector for sector 2.
Yeah, and looks like Setu had a bit of a moment there in sector 3. Again, sector 1 could have been UK 2. Seemed like a Haas was incredibly slow. Thor puts himself third fastest, but he's 5 seconds off the leader. The avocado in the Ferrari goes faster than Thor in the Merc. And Gauts just set the fastest lap time so far, 1 minute 24, 5.636.
Ferrero was awfully close. He's almost 3/10 off, and that was a really astonishing lap from him.
Could we possibly see Gauts in the top 5? I wonder. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Big man Joe is still here to set a lap time. So is Mr. Wex, Gauts' teammate. I'm pretty sure Mr. Vex is happy about that. You know, he's got his old teammate back, and looks like there's a Red Bull off track, and so is an RP. I wonder if they had a collision, a small collision. 5 plays grid penalty after a collision with Sick Nig for Rocket Man. That's the Alfa Romeo of Rocket Man.
Things are not off to a great start for Rocket Man. His much awaited return.
Only 5 drivers have set a lap time so far, and the RP is still off track. UK on a fast lap across sector 3, final corner across the finish line. Walker on a lap time, will he set? Goes fastest, 1 minute 24.221, and Sick Nick seems to have retired from the session, and I wonder if it's voluntarily or an incident out on track. Sector 1 and 3 go yellow. Yep, looks like he was parked in sector 3. So unfortunately, there's Sick Nick retired. First retirement of the qualifying session. UK fastest out on track. Vixie56 goes second fastest. Rusty Nish goes third fastest. And Gouts is in the pits. KDB puts himself third fastest.
We will have constant rain for the entire qualifying, so I don't expect track evolution to matter that much. I guess it's just a matter of how good your tire temps are.
Sector 2 goes yellow, and I'm guessing there was a bit of a off for a Haas, but he seems to have gotten it, and looks like right there a Renault had an issue, went off track there, but Big Man Joe currently the fastest driver out on track.
Not by much though. UK just 500ths off. Rusty Nish a little bit of Tokyo Drift over there.
And Accelerate goes third fastest. Rusty Nish will start on another fast lap soon enough once he's done with this one. Going through sector 3.
Like this corner, it's really banked, and you get a bit of the notch life of vibe, if you get what I mean, the carousel part.
Yeah.
You do have a little bit of that effect.
Yeah. And cross final corner. Cross the line. Fifth fastest is all that he could do. Look how close the top 7 are, Rudra.
Within a second of the qualifying leader.
Yep.
Now, that might be very interesting during the race.
Oh sure, and the Toro Rosso Accelerate right up there. I'm pretty sure he's looking for that elusive third win. He's only won twice so far. See if he can get another one. Asinish having a bit of an off. Vex going into the pits. KDB on a fast lap. Realistic performance, Williams. Yep, for those of you who don't know, all the drivers are in realistic performance cars, which means they all don't have equal cars. That's why you see, so when you see someone like Big Man Joe or KDB in those cars which are comparatively slow to the Mercedes and the Ferraris, it's quite commendable to say the least.
For sure, which is why season 4 might just throw everything into the works.
Exactly, we'll be shifting to equal performance, but more on that in the weeks to come. 10 of y'all in the chat, make sure you show your support for the driver you're here for. And who do you think will come out on top at the end of this qualifying session? Just under 9 minutes to go, and looks like there's a Ferrari that's come to a halt.
Maybe they were just giving way for the fast lap, but they dived into the pit.
Yeah.
So.
And he will begin another fast lap. Yes, he will. Rustinish. Vixie56 right up there today. That's something interesting to see for sure. A strong performance from Vixie56 is something we've been waiting for a long time actually.
True, and he has had a steady climb, but it's been very late into the season. Too late to make something out of it.
Meanwhile, the Mercedes AMG Freeze goes third fastest, so he's up there in the fight as well. KDB currently sits 8th fastest. SV11 on his outlap, and looks like Harry Rocks hasn't set a lap time yet.
I wonder if he's having issues or he's just waiting for the track to be empty, perhaps less people.
Yeah, we've seen this before, right, Rudra? I think it was one of the most recent races. It's out of my mind, but we've seen these drivers go out on intermediates. They set a lap time fairly good enough, but they get caught off guard later when the track's actually fine for slicks, and a bunch of drivers capitalize on this and end up qualifying in higher positions compared to the strong ones. I think this was going back to the one where KDB and Big Banjo qualified P12 and P13 respectively.
I think this was most recently seen at Brazil, I think, where they missed out on qualifying because they were confident of their lap times.
Yeah. And I just wonder if Mexico was similar to that. Where Ferrero out there 10th fastest. Let's pull up and see if anyone's fancying a run on those slick tires. And yes, they are Victory by 6.
And Thor and Gods. Oh, three
okay.
people.
Outs, my man, what are you up to? Outlap it is. His first lap on the slicks. Oh no, it's going to go. Sector 3 goes yellow. I'm guessing a car's slowing down. Oh no, it's come to a halt. It looks like a Haas. But there's no one close by, so I don't think that'll be an issue. And we've got the driver who's the fastest currently, who will be coming out on the slicks, the soft tires, the red striped soft tires.
The track does look dry, but I'm not entirely convinced.
In time, through sector 3 he comes, looks like he's trying to heat up his tires, almost comes to a halt.
Yeah, you can see the water spraying from the tires. The track is still damp, so good luck getting heat on them.
But he's trying his best as Gouts ends his outlap. Will start a fast lap right about now on board. Gouts in the McLaren. Just over 5 minutes left into short qualifying. Let's see how he does.
Teeny bit of spin, but he managed to control it.
Top 4 drivers are currently out on sauce, will be coming out on sauce. Bunch of them in the pit. Sector 2 goes yellow for a slow moving car. Rusty Nish out on the will come out on the mediums. He's fancying something different.
Yes, because for our viewers here, it is vital for the drivers to know which tires they're qualifying on, because the time they set the fastest, that is the tire they need to start the race on. So maybe Rusty Nish is going for a longer race strategy.
Seems like, and we just crossed Gouts' teammate Wex right there, making sure he gives way to his teammate as he's on a fast lap. 4 minutes left into short qualifying, and we've currently got Big Man Joe on top, UK right behind him, Accelerate right up there as well, Freeze, Ferrello, and across the finish line on slicks, Gouts comes, fastest it is.
We're gonna see a lot of table changes now.
And as we saw, Rusty Nish came out on the mediums and Gouts going a bit off track. Regardless, UK out on track as well on an outlap. Accelerate, Freeze on a fast lap on the slicks. So I wonder how quick he'll go. Will he beat Gouts this time? Will he be just right behind him? Going to sector 3. No purple sector as of now. KDB goes fastest with the slicks in a realistic performance. Williams.
If there are any drivers in the pits, they might want to leave now, otherwise they will not be able to set a single lap.
And across the line, Freeze goes fastest. Yes, he does. Over 1.5 seconds quicker than KDB.
Now that is commendable.
Harry Rock still in the pits. He'll be coming out on the mediums and he hasn't even set a lap time. Because big man Joe on an out lap, he'll be setting a lap time soon enough. UK on a fast lap. The Haas driver, he was on pole position at Abu Dhabi. See how he does here today. Accelerate, goes fast, is 1 minute 17.669. Sector 2 goes yellow.
UK showing decent pace.
On the softs, a bunch of drivers out on the medium. Surprising to see VPA still out on intermediates. To sector 3 goes. Can he possibly get? Big man Joe starts his fast lap. Across the final corner through sector 3. UK across the line. Where do you reckon he'll come? He goes fastest. Quicker than accelerate and freeze. Meanwhile, Mr. Wex on the slicks. I'm guessing he'll be ready to start off another lap. 1 minute left to short qualifying. And we've got a bunch of drivers on their fast laps and another bunch on their out laps.
But might want to put one more fast lap so that he has a good chance of qualifying as high as possible.
Currently, the one Ferrari sits third fastest and the other sits seventh fastest. SV11 just went second fastest. Look how close the margin is to UK and SV11.
Exactly 1,000th of a second. You cannot count it more accurately.
This is incredible. Imagine, they're real good friends off track, UK and SV11. And they're right up there, front row possibly, unless the man who's 10th fastest right now is grinning and possibly coming out as the fastest driver. 10 seconds left to short qualifying. Haas going incredibly slow. Hyrox 24 out on track to set a lap time. Thor right there, 17 fastest. VPA in sector 3. Seems like he has an issue. Rusty Nish currently holds provisional pole.
What he had to do.
You broke just a bit, Rudra.
I was saying that Rusty Nish managed to set a competent lap time on the mediums, exactly what he wanted.
Yeah. Vex is currently fastest, though holds provisional pole. SV11 stays fourth fastest. Accelerate stays. Accelerate goes second fastest. He's P2, front row for him. Unless Big Man Joe, Vix356 just went provisional pole. Big Man Joe on a fast lap. Thor could be impeding his lap for all you know.
Very much so.
He's glitching. He's glitching. He's glitching. Thor is glitching. Big Man Joe will come across the line and goes third fastest. But you reckon that things could have been different. But Vix356 is in pole position at the German GP of the Bwoah Racing League.
Signig will have a lot of ground to cover. Although, okay, there's some friendly banter going on.
A few shunts here and there post qualifying.
It's not like front wings are expensive.
Yeah, that's the avocado, Vix356 and Red Bull driver. I reckon that's sickening. And there's
everybody's joining the party.
Yeah. Anyways, that should be a wrap. Oh, okay. There's another driver there. Either way, Vix356 will start in pole position. Mr. Wax in the front row. And Big Man Joe, regardless of that glitch with Thor, starts in P3. Second row stop for him. And we've seen him split the front runners before. So we could possibly see a repeat of that going into turn 1.
Most definitely.
Rocketman qualified.
Yes. Rocketman does have a 5-place grid penalty, so he'll be starting P12.
Okay. Which means a bunch of drivers between P7 and P12 will be smiling for sure. They get an advantage by 1 position.
I think the luckiest one would be Harry Rocks, who gets a free choice of tires while starting P10. So, good for him.
Incredible stuff. Big Man Joe in the top 3. Vix C56, incredible pole position lap there. And Vex in the McLaren starts in the front row. Could this possibly be the race where Mr. Vex comes out on top? He did finish first on track, at least in the United States GP. But he couldn't quite get that race win because of post-race penalties, and it looks like VC56 is all set to go. Setups have been decided. VPA is all set to go as well. I reckon we will have a change of lobby right about now. Meanwhile, folks, don't go anywhere as the drivers lobby up once again. Few glitches in the game tends to happen. We will see who comes out on top in the German GP. Rudra, what do you reckon of that qualifying?
I feel that there were a few missed chances, and yeah, I think Big Man Joe's lap was compromised, but it doesn't matter because he always seems to make up during the race. I guess Mr. Vex should take the most chance out of the second position he's got. Like, he could do a Max Verstappen, and try to get off the pole. But yeah.
But think about Big Man Joe, who's starting P3. We've seen him split the front runners, like I said before. We could possibly see that. I almost thought he'd be starting P13 where he was, and he would have completely messed that lap up. So, like, I'm amazed he even got so much high up in the table. So, yeah, unfortunate there with the whole incident with Thor glitching a bit. But we should be set to go in a while. And Vixie56, amazing pole position. Can't wait to see what kind of a race result he's gonna get. And for the 9 of y'all in the chat, make sure you drop who are you here for. Who do you think is going to come out on top? Vix356 is on pole position. We got Mr. Vex starting in the front row. Big Man Joe in P3. And the rest follows. Rusty Nish on the mediums. Wonder how that's going to turn out. We will see. 50% race distance at the Hockenheim ring.
I do feel that Hockenheim is a race where you need to make 2 pit stops if you're in the softs, because the tire weight does seem high. The turns are just too aggressive for the tires not to get grained out. But since Rusty Nish is on the mediums, I think there were 2 more drivers on the mediums, and one of them will be in the top 10. That's Harry Rocks.
Yes.
So maybe these 2 will be able to get a few extra seconds for free. So
all right.
I hope they at least get a top 5 finish, both of these drivers.
Find out in just a bit as we await the race start of the Hockenheim ring race. The German GP of the Bwoah Racing League, and Ram Prasad in the chat asks, is Setu in the race? Yes, Setu RC18 in the gold and black Haas car. The Alfa Romeos, Big Man Joe and Rocketman. Big Man Joe starts P3, Rocketman starts P12. See, I was always hoping for any one of these races, the Bwoah Racing League races, to actually have a front row lockout, or possibly even a 1-2 finish at the end of the race. And I just wonder if that's gonna happen today.
We've not seen it so far, so that will just make it that much more special.
And I think one might say the competent individuals in cars which are capable of having that kind of result is possibly the two Mercedes AMG drivers. But again, it's been so long since Thor's been out here on track alongside these drivers, and he's pretty much hasn't raced with a couple of these drivers like Hyrox 24, RB Ferrero, and VPA. So clearly they'll be on the back foot that way.
Definitely.
Because the Red Bull driver Signig SV11. Wonder what kind of strategy is going to be in place there. They don't have their race engineer with them here today. Instead, they've got the race engineer to fight alongside them. God's in the McLaren. Setu OP.
Definitely interesting.
Rusty
Maybe he might show a bit more saltiness if he sees a Red Bull driver come his way.
Maybe. We'll find out. Usually Gauds is in this mindset where he's trying to do his best, have a clean race, and finish in a position that helps his teammate, if not himself. And yeah, he was pretty excited about leading the race this one time in the Bwoah Racing League. Possibly we might see him finish higher up right next to his teammate, and who knows, McLaren 1-2. That's my bold prediction for this race. You've seen qualifying, you've got to have a bold prediction after that one, Rudra.
Yep, and I'm willing to bet on Wix 356 and Mr. Wix holding their positions.
Oh, okay.
And Rustinish sneaking in a podium at the end, I think.
Okay, so you're giving...
Again, this is if Big Man Joe has 2 pit stops and does not get to catch up to them. Otherwise, maybe Rustinish, Big Man Joe and Mr. Wex on the podium. That is my chance. But
So
I don't know who's going to win.
So you're giving us a podium prediction, which is Wix 356, Mr. Wex and Rusty Nish, unless Big Man Joe gets into that mix in one way or the other. McLaren 1-2 does sound pretty neat, haha, says Alan. Yep, it does, and especially when it's Mr. Wex and Gouts.
Gods will have some extra motivation as they are currently battling with Red Bull for P7, and they're 10 points behind Red Bull right now. But the spiciest battle is for P2, with Renault at 287, Toro Rosso at 284, and Haas F1 at 282. 3 teams separated by 5 points. Whoever finishes higher gets P2 in the standings.
And probably the setback there is there are no 2 Renault drivers on track here today.
Exactly, so it's everything for Accelerate to claim P2, and if UK can push for it, maybe they end up in P2. It's an open battle at this point.
Yeah, UK and Setu RC18, who's also here. So Haas is kind of in a position of advantage here going into this race in terms of the constructors title.
Definitely, they have the best shot at P2 because Alfa Romeo look to have almost, let's say, solidify the constructors, but not quite. If they don't get any points and Toro Rosso manages to get the race win, then they will win the constructors.
And considering the fact that both the Alpha drivers are here today, you can pretty much say the constructors title is solidified. But
all they need to do is get another 6 points and the constructors is theirs.
Okay. Would we
6 points between 2 drivers. It should be a piece of cake, right?
Yeah. I mean, they made it up there with, one driver for most of the season. Not taking into, not like ignoring the fact the contribution Rocket Man made in the first couple of races. But of course, having both drivers here today is a bit of an advantage, especially when you're leading the constructors title.
Very true. So we literally have an end of the season race to decide the constructors.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, to the 12 of you all in chat, make sure you drop who you're here for. Who do you think will come on top? But for those of you who don't know, the driver's standings is pretty much open only to the driver's title fight is the fight for P2, in fact. I think it's between P3. Rusty Nish and KDB are fighting off for P3. They have the same amount of points.
Both of them are on 197. And then you have UK at 167 and P5. So that's a pretty far distance away.
Yeah.
But the only commendable battle is for P3, that's Rusty Nish and KDB. And then we have a tiny battle between Srivatsan and Mr. Wex for P8. Srivatsan's at 96 and Mr. Wex is at 93.
And of course, it's been sealed. The drivers' champion of the Bwoah Racing League is Big Man Joe. He won it in a race he didn't even show up for, the Brazilian GP. What a way to win it.
Just BRL things, I suppose.
Yeah. Can't wait for the next one, of course. Regardless, today is the day we could possibly see a new race winner. 18 drivers. Been a while since we had so many drivers out on track. And in the chat, Ram Prasad asked us if we host iRacing races. He enjoys GT3 action, so we'll take note and probably work on that.
So do we. I would definitely look forward to that. I mean, it's okay. I find it hilarious to come into NASCAR because NASCAR because it reminds me of the Disney movies. But iRacing is something that I wouldn't be laughing that much, and I actually enjoy iRacing.
And Rick Sanchez in the chat. Evening, lads. It's been a while. Yep, it has been, Rick Sanchez. And we are glad you are here. I was going to go for a fancy line, then I realized Rick Sanchez doesn't do fancy. But he's here to support Gouts. And
we might have to do fancy. Wink wink next season.
Yeah, wink wink next season indeed. I'm pretty sure he's grinning and he can't wait for next season as well. Either way, it's 50% race distance. We're all set to go. Hockenheim Ring. Vixie 56 on pole position. Let's see what happens. All the drivers are set. They'll take a few minutes to sort out their setups for the race and we'll be all set to go. UK will be the first one to sort out his setup, and upon him getting ready, everybody else will be all set to race. I think Gouts will be on the podium, says Hari Haran. Alright, there's another prediction for y'all. Gouts on the podium. That'll be his first podium in the season if he makes it like Hari Haran says so. And if he's on the podium, I'd reckon Mr. Wex would be on the podium too, so it'll be two McLaren drivers on the podium.
I don't think we have seen the same team claim 2 podiums in BRL as well, right? Not just 1, 2. But it's always been 3 different teams on the podium.
Yes, always. Actually, earlier on, the first couple of races, I think you just might have missed out on. We had both the racing points on the podium. It was the brilliant pairing of Vixie 56 and the Supreme Leader. And what a team that was.
I have missed that race as I wasn't here at the time, so I think I missed a good result.
Yeah, either way, lights go out and we are all set. They steam off. The Mercedes AMG get a nasty start. He's glitching heavily, but Vixie 56 holding on to that race lead. Mr. Wex trying to take the fight to him. The Alfa Romeo, Big Man Joe holding on, but didn't quite get the start he'd like. And it's midfield chaos. Both the Haas collide together, and one of the Haas's is dropping incredibly, and it is UK who's dropped to the back of the pack. The Racing Point holding on to that position. Both the Mercedes back to back virtual safety car in lap number 1.
That was a heavy shunt. That was a heavy shunt. Now I wonder if it was accidental or was it a fight which made them lose control this way.
Seems like 5-second penalty for severe collision with Rusty Nish for SV11. Pretty sure Rusty Nish is not smiling about that. It's the last race. He's not a fan of collisions, especially when it comes from a Red Bull.
And he has to do everything to finish above KDB, which he is so far, but yeah, it does not do his chances any good.
Yeah, and what a climb Rocketman's got. He's running P5. He's so close to his teammate. This is the closest the two Alfa Romeo drivers have been.
Indeed.
Yeah, and we're all set to go. Yep, we're back racing here at the Hockenheim Ring. Within half a second is Mr. Wex of Vixie 56. The two names we get the most confused about.
will do, but now I have a sense, so I'm good.
And meanwhile, Freeze dropping. Incredibly, he's not even gone into the pits. Setu RC18 dives into the pits. And it's almost
the Haas had front wing damage, that's why.
Yep, and three-way battle almost. The Hyrox 24 taking the fight to Freeze, while Thor losing a position right now as we see live to a Red Bull.
Signic has done well. I think he was the last one in the qualifying sheets, but he's managed to come up to P10.
Yeah, meanwhile, Big Man Joe making that stride in the front, but Thor and Freeze, two Mercedes AMG cars going wheel to wheel, and seemed like there was a bit of a contact there between Signic and a Mercedes car. Locking up there, KDB, front left. The battle is on as Freeze closes in on Hyrox 24, who's in the racing point, trying to fend off this Mercedes AMG. And he's lost it, he lost a bit of his rear too. This could put him in a vulnerable position. Vixie 56 gets the fastest lap. Big Man Joe beats that within half a second. Yup, he's trying to fend off that Red Bull. Pretty well, Thor, but wheel to wheel, Signic will take that fight. He seems to be having issues there, Thor.
Big Man Joe is within 4/10 of Wix 356. Might get the lead very early on. He's less than a tenth of Wix.
Yep, wheel to wheel. I think there could have been collision there between the McLaren and the Alfa Romeo. But right now, Big Man Joe on the tail of Wix 356. And looks like there's rain coming down a bit. Gets the position. Can he hold on to it? Wheel to wheel. These guys.
Switch back from Wix. Another switch back from Wix.
It's been a while since Big Man Joe and Vixie 56 went toe to toe on track.
And Joe consolidates his lead for now.
And with rain coming down, I wonder if that switches things up.
The bigger question is the rain temporary or is it going to be for the entire session, because that changes the strategy completely.
Yes, it does. But currently, Big Man Joe, the driver who's won the title at the Bwoah Racing League this season, leads this race. And the driver who started on pole right behind him. 3-second time penalty for Freeze after multiple warnings.
The front three are on softs and everybody else is on mediums, so that also helps because the mediums will have some grip in the rain at least.
And SV11 trying to take the fight to Rocket Man, who's currently running P6, seems to have lost a position. Meanwhile, Vex gets that jump on Vixie 56, while Rocket Man and SV11 are battling it out for P6. On the tail, trying to stick to his gearbox, and there was contact for sure. There was contact for sure between the Red Bull and the Alfa Romeo. Rocket Man is not going to be happy.
We saw a car mounting the other car, so I don't know if that counts as a collision.
This is not even the first time.
Harassment.
This is not even the first time between these two. Last time around, when we saw a car mounting another car in the Bwoah Racing League, it was the same two drivers, SV11 and Rocket Man.
Maybe they're just too chummy together.
Yeah, but Vixie 56 lost out on huge amount of momentum. He's down in P3 right now. Vex running P2
with a 3-second time penalty.
Hyrox 24 gets a 3-second time penalty as well. And Mr. Vex holds P2, overshot it a bit. Late braking is what he tried, goes incredibly wide, accelerate, gets the jump on Vixie 56. Couldn't quite hold on to it.
He overcooked the brakes, he overcooked them a lot. And it was... It's rain, like you can't get that much grip, so has to be much more careful.
That almost seemed like Accelerate could have gotten 2 positions, but he just couldn't. Rain seems to be coming down a lot compared to a couple of minutes ago, at least compared to the previous lap.
Accelerate also was out of ERS, otherwise he could have made a move stick, but now he has to wait for it to recharge.
Meanwhile, SV11 currently running P6 after that mounting on Rocket Man. Freeze in P8, and the drivers closest to each other are Accelerate, but a bunch of drivers diving into the pits as the rain increases.
Both be the ones pitting first.
Seems like there's an issue.
Caught out later.
I think SV11 served a penalty if I'm not wrong, or there's some kind of issue in the Red Bull pit box because SV11 wasn't moving for quite some time.
He did serve a penalty, maybe, or there were cars passing by and he could not get out in time. I think that was it.
Yeah, that kind of impacted his position, the position where he came out. He comes out ahead of Harryox 24, but KDB gets the jump on him regardless. And we've got only 2 drivers out on mediums. 3, in fact. We got Avocado, we got Rocket Man, and we've got UK, but he just dove into the pits. Rusty Nish currently running P5. Even though the rain does continue, the top 3 drivers thinks it's wise to stay out on softs.
They might be thinking for this to be a temporary shower, but maybe it is not, because it's looking that it's getting heavier.
And yup, they dive into the pits one after the other. Wixie56, Vex, and Big Man Joe, the race leader. Intermediates for all 3. Let's stay on board. Accelerate as he gets the jump on Vexy56, but he will not get that jump on Big Man Joe. Well done, Accelerate.
That was some seriously good in lap and an out lap.
And Vex comes out of the pits fighting Rusty Nish, who's out on track, but Vixie56 comes out P5.
That was a dangerous cut from Mr. Vex. I almost thought that he was colliding with Rusty Nish.
3-second time penalty for Gouts.
Come on, Gouts. People are here hoping for a podium from you.
And he has Thor to worry about ahead. He is within a second of Thor. Seto RC18 gets a 3-second time penalty.
Thor is really good at defending his position, so Gouts has his work cut out for him.
And glitches again, as we can see on screen, between the McLaren and Mercedes.
Maybe we are in the Matrix. I have no other explanation.
Yep, seems like it, as both cars go through each other. Quite literally. This could possibly pose as an issue going into the rest of the race, but rain seems to be coming down even more now. And Avocado out on the hards.
Avocado being very, very optimistic that the rain is enough for him to be out on the hards.
He's currently running P18.
He has nothing to lose, I guess.
Yeah. And it's been a while for sure. Accelerate running P2, and within a second of Big Man Joe, both on the intermediates. And if memory serves me right, Accelerate is the driver who's always doing a rain dance ahead of race weekend, because he loves to drive in the rain.
For sure. And I think he is the best driver in the wets on the grid.
Yep, Thor's dropping. I'm guessing it's been an incident. Yes, it is. He's either had an issue with his PC, or he had some sort of issue. Either way, his Gouts.
End plate. He has had a collision, I guess. There is no end plate on the left side of his front wing.
Disappointing for the Mercedes AMG driver here today. Meanwhile, both the Haas running outside of the points. Setu RC18 and UK running P16 and P17 respectively. And we got the Ferrari running in P18, Avocado. Meanwhile, Rusty Nish P4 close to the podium, so your prediction still has a chance of ending up true. SV11 within half a second of KDB. Up, he should have the momentum he needs. Could he? Nope. KDB will fend him off pretty well. Yep, he's got the advantage. Late braking by Srivatsan.
Very close. This will help him.
So second time penalty for VPA, who's in the racing point.
Can SV11 make a move here? Can he?
Ah, he goes off track, SV11.
Overcooks the brakes, just like Mr. Wex.
Disappointing. And Rocketman makes the move. A move we've been waiting to see on VPA. The driver who had taken his place in the league in that Alfa Romeo seat. Clearly, this goes to show what he brings to the table going into the next season. Rocketman up into P13. The gap has extended between the bunch of drivers are on track. The greatest gap, of course, is between the two Haas drivers. 15 seconds, almost 15 and a half seconds, in fact. And right after that, the Avocado, 35 seconds off UK. Disappointing, and gets a 3-second time penalty as well. Not the outing he'd hoped for, I'm sure. Onboard Gouts, who's currently running P11 on 3-lap old intermediates. And SV11 again fancying a move on KDB. And KDB fending off that Red Bull quite well. He's trying to get in some kind of momentum as much as he can, but KDB still has that advantage. He's got more power in his battery, that's for sure. Meanwhile, folks, 12 of y'all in the chat, what do you think of this race? There's rain coming down. We got Big Man Joe leading this race, Accelerate in P2, Mr. Wex in P3, and the rest to follow. We got SV11 closing in on KDB. Make sure you drop your thoughts in the chat. Hyrox24, currently running P9. Doesn't have his teammate Only Cuppy next to him, but he does have VPA running P14.
The rain does not show any signs of slowing down, and I think it might become wet enough for the wet tires. There is a tiny possibility, I feel.
Alright, up the order, Wex within a second of Accelerate, but just can't keep it in. SV11 closer than ever once again to KDB. Closest two drivers on track right now. Freeze closing in on Vic 356. He's got Rusty Nish ahead of him. That gap between Big Man Joe and Accelerate just extended to over 2 seconds. Goes a bit off track there, Freeze. And missing out on an opportunity once again, SV11. And that gap between Freeze and KDB has extended to 10 seconds.
Can make the move on Vix 356 in maybe another 2 laps, I suppose.
I reckon 1 lap, but then again Vixie56 momentum not too great as he tries to hold on to that position. Freeze being super ambitious there going into that corner. 3-second time penalty for VPA. Now that's gonna be quite the factor going into the last couple of laps of the race. Who's got the most post-race penalties?
You're already seeing quite a few of them. I think we have seen 2 penalties per lap now, maybe, or a penalty a lap.
Yep. Pretty much more than just 1 penalty a lap. So you can bet what kind of an effect it'll have on the race results. Last time around, Vex lost out on the win because of a post-race time penalty. And right now, he's running P3. On the tail of Vixie56, Freeze, will he reckon try his hand? No, he doesn't. He goes off track as well.
Me, or is the track actually getting wetter? I think the rain has been falling harder.
Yep, and like you said, Rudra, we should see a bunch of these drivers pit for wets. We have our first driver who was on the intermediates pitting, and I wonder if he's coming out on full wets. Yes, it is. You got that bang on, Rudra. As Harrydogs24, first driver to come out of the pits on wet tires. Comes out right ahead of Rocketman. Meanwhile, Freeze closer than ever to Vixie56. I wonder if a move is being made as we speak. Let me just quickly jump to them. Nope, Freeze didn't quite get done. Holding on, the Mercedes AMG and the Renault driver. Closer than ever, will reckon take a peek down the inside, but just doesn't have the space to get a move done. Meanwhile, right behind, SV11 in a similar position with KDB. They've been at it for a while now as Rocketman makes that move and gets it done. It is wheel to wheel, to and fro. It's the Alfa Romeo and Racing Point, but the intermediates seem to have come out on top in that instance. Vixie56 and Freeze battling it out for position, and it is a spin and crash. Freeze went into the barrier. Did manage to reset to track and will stay P6 right behind Vix, but that gap between him and KDB is looking quite promising for KDB for now. More than it did, at least. Rudra, are you with me?
We have more than half the race to go, so it's okay. He has time to recover.
20 laps to go as Mr. Wex currently running P3 driver with the shortest gap to another. Closing in on accelerate, holding it together. That 2-second gap is still 2 seconds, just above 2 seconds between Accelerate and Big Man Joe. So you reckon Accelerate is doing quite the job running P2.
Keeping Big Man Joe honest, he's right there on the tail, waiting for Big Man Joe to make a mistake.
Yeah, and on the tail, down the inside, he does get a move done. Can he get the move done is the question, as the Toro Rosso and McLaren almost went wheel to wheel, but the Toro Rosso comes out on top for now.
The Toro Rosso had a good exit, so Accelerate was able to push harder. But I don't think he can escape the next time, because Mr. Wex is very determined.
And he just might have fended him off for now. Big Man Joe is still leading this race. Mr. Wex half a second away from Accelerate. down the order. However, Thor looks to have made that move on VPA, and they seem to be fighting it off. Yep, it's the Racing Point and Thor's AI. So VPA should be able to get that move done on the AI and be back on top there. Big Man Joe still in the race lead. SV11 within a second of KDB, but looking awfully huge, that gap.
I honestly expected Red Bull to be higher in this race, but it seems to me that they are struggling. Maybe the wet weather is the main reason.
Same part of the track and almost got the job done this time around, Mr. Wex, but still stays behind Accelerate. Setu RC18 within a 2 second of the Racing Point of High Rocks 24, wheel to wheel, intermediates versus the wets, and the Haas driver Setu RC18 comes out on top. Ooh, almost cut that corner.
Was a corner cut, but he walks away with a warning for now.
For now, Haas driver up into P13 while his teammate runs P15.
Sandwich between the two Haas drivers, and he's on the wets. He is the sitting duck.
And last time around, the driver was sandwiched between two Haas drivers was Accelerate, the Toro Rosso driver.
And we know how that went.
Yes, we did. And down the inside, he is gonna try. UK did peak, but held back as Hyrox 24 holds on to P14 for now. Slipstream, he should have everything in his favor. UK in the next couple of corners will be making a move for sure as Mr. Wex, yep, yellow flag as VPA crashes out, and up ahead, Vex takes the position from Accelerate.
Luke takes the position from Harry Rocks at the exact same time.
Battles all around in the front and at the back as Accelerate closing in on Mr. Wex, fighting for the position he just lost out on. And this battle continues. SV11's dire adventure to try and get that position from KDB, and looks like KDB had quite the moment there. He just swerved all around track.
Genuinely thought he was trying to warm his tires while racing, and then I noticed him flying away, and I'm like, okay, so that happened.
You won't be pleased about that. He was doing quite the job fending off SV11 for quite some time. It's been over 5 laps since the two were within a second of each other and he was ahead. Regardless, UK making the climb. Haas and Haas. Setu RC18 still holding, being the Haas which is ahead in P13 and UK in P14. We've seen these two go up against each other the most compared to any other two drivers of the same team in the league in the past few races. Wheel to wheel, and that could have been team orders potentially, because that seemed like Setu RC18 just let UK by.
Could have been, but it wouldn't be unfair given that UK is fighting for higher positions in the table. But even then, it's good that they have a team dynamic. It's not something we have seen this season in BRL.
And shots were called as UK steams off, taking the battle to Rocket Man. UK gets a 3-second time penalty after multiple warnings. As right up there, Rusty Nish looking to get into the podium position. Within a second of Accelerate.
Also got a 3-second time penalty earlier while we were watching the two Haases go about each other.
Penalties being handed all around, and the shortest gap between drivers is up there in the top 5. Vex 3 seconds off the race leader. and Thor seems to have returned to the race. And Big Man Joe in a comfortable lead. 3 seconds gap. No penalties for him so far. If he keeps this going until the 34th lap, he could possibly get a 7th win this season. Sector 3 goes yellow. Just for a bit. We see 5-6 running P5, Freeze running P6, and SV11 running P7. Look at the gaps between all the drivers, and the largest gap in the top 17, because the 18th driver is way off the rest of the pack, is 18 seconds between Sicknick and Gouts. But looks like the move's been done. Nope, it wasn't a move. Accelerate dives into the pits, and I wonder what kind of tires are going to come on. You said
another set of inters, but I think this is enough to last him for the end of the race.
14 laps to go. We find out he comes out ahead of SV11. And that is Thor, who is glitching quite a bit. He has returned, but I don't think he's come on track. So Accelerate has a fresh set of inters and 5 drivers to overcome. Still staying out on the full wets, Hyrox 24 running P15.
Maybe he's convinced that these are the right tires to go with, and he also risks losing another 20 seconds.
Fortunate for him at this stage of the race. You never know what this is going to turn out to be. 3-second time penalty for VPA. Mr. Wex approaching, he will lap Hyrox 24, and he does. Big Man Joe, he looks way off, but still can be seen on board Mr. Wex. So that could be a promising thing, at least for Wex for now. 3-second gap, still holding on. It was a 2-second gap, but amidst the battle between Vex and Accelerate, that second just got in there. Accelerate running P6 currently on press set of inters, hasn't closed in as much to Freeze. 3-second time penalty for SV11 after multiple warnings. Rusty Niche running P3.
I wonder if Accelerate will be able to climb a few spots, because the top 5 have to pit again, or maybe they don't. If they can nurse the tires enough, they may finish the race on these tires. You never know.
Possibly. Gouts and Rocketman has pitted and will come out on fresh set of intermediates. Yep, Gouts is out and about once again. Goes wide on his first outing and almost collides with the barriers.
The tires are way too cold for him to be late braking. He just came out of the pits. The tires are very, very cold. He's lucky not to lose any spots.
Fresh set of inters, and he's in between a bunch of drivers who are on 15 lap old intermediates, so he should be on an advantageous position. Mr. Wex pits for a set of fresh inters, I'm sure.
So I guess everybody will pit within lap 25.
Yep. But Accelerate on the tail of Freeze in the Mercedes AMG. Toro Rosso versus Mercedes, and Wex comes out right behind Accelerate. Big Man Joe is still staying out.
So does Rustinish. I guess their strategy would be to try to develop a gap before they go into the pits, which makes sense.
But the battle is on for P4 as Freeze tries to fend off 2 drivers who were running in the top 3, and Accelerate seems to have messed it up there as he goes wheel to wheel. There was a bit of contact between him and the McLaren of Mr. Wex, but Wex will come out on top. Accelerate trying to move, peeks down the inside, couldn't quite get it. and will stay P6. He's incredibly impatient and loses the rear, and he has slid off track, and that gap's only going to become bigger.
That was very impatient from Accelerate. He knew that Freeze would be going into the pits soon as well. He pushed way too hard, way too soon.
And the two Williams running P8 and P9, while Setu RC18 coming out on the full wet tires, and Rocketman on wet tires himself, a set of wet tires. I wonder if Big Man Joe hinted at Rocketman to see how the wet tires are feeling out on track, so he can make a decision himself before he pits.
A lot of questions to be answered, although if he were to pit now, he will come out 4 seconds behind Mr. Vex.
The Avocado.
So enough to challenge for P1 net.
The Avocado running P18 while his teammate runs P2. Rusty Nish and 17 lap old intermediates running P2. VPA gets a 3-second time penalty. Vex 356 running P3, and Vex taking the fight to Freeze.
Mr. Vex knows he does not have to fight Vex, but to fight Freeze, but he has to do enough to push Freeze, because those tires are not
Contact.
That was a shunt, but
he almost messed up Freeze race, but gets the position. That's a questionable move, to say the least.
Wonder if he'll give Freeze the position back.
Doesn't seem like it. Looks like Mr. Vex is on a mission, and that mission is to catch Big Man Joe. Freeze won't be pleased after that one. That gap seemed to have existed, but a bit too ambitious from Mr. Vex. That caused that collision. A small shunt, and Freeze had lost his position. Done and dusted. Currently running P5. He's got Accelerate to worry about 2.5 seconds away. So far so good. 25 seconds the gap between Ferrello and Sicknig, who supposedly got a 3-second time penalty after multiple warnings.
It has not been drinkable today, even though SV11 is in P7. I actually expect them to be in like P5 at least.
18 lap old intermediates is still holding it off, and SV11 approaching to lap Hyrox 24 in a bit. Six, 12 seconds off of Rusty Nish. Holding on. 18 lap old intermediates. Big Man Joe still holding on to the lead. 25th lap begins.
It does not feel like 25 laps, does it, Sarthak? I honestly thought we are nearing the end of the race.
Yes, so did I.
It's been a really action-packed race.
Freeze seemed to have a bit of a moment because Accelerate went ahead of him. Oh, he dives into the pits. 3-second time penalty after multiple warnings from Mr. Vex. This has caught him off guard the last time around, and looks like a front left puncher for Freeze as he dives into the pits.
That was on point and on time.
And right behind him, KDB dove into the pits as well. And a front wing change as well for Freeze. KDB in the pits. Sector 3 goes yellow. KDB coming out on the wets.
Audacious move, but oh wait, the rain is pouring harder now. Was that a clever move by KDB?
Possibly.
Rocketman and Setu are on the wets as well.
UK dives into the pits.
I think he will come out on wets as well, maybe.
Sector 3 goes yellow. I'm still surprised, and I wonder how are Big Man Joe, Rusty Nish and Vix 356 on 18 and 19 lap old tires on intermediates.
UK is on the wet. Big Man Joe in the pits, no?
Yep, and Rusty Nish follows him diligently into the pits himself. Wet tires.
Wets for everyone.
And Vic356 comes into the pits as well after seeing the top two dive into the pits. And Mr. Wex, I wonder where he's going to come out. Yep, he will get that P2 position, but he is on the intermediates while the driver ahead as well as the driver behind are on wets. And the rain is coming down incredibly on the tail of Big Man Joe right now.
Is not too far off, but he has the newer tires as well as the grippier tires.
Wex pushing as much as he can.
Let's see if he overcooks the brakes this time. No, he doesn't. Playing it safe.
Holds on to it, dives down the inside. Bad exit for Big Man Joe. Collision between the two front runners. And Big Man Joe will still hold the race lead. I'm surprised because Rusty Nish had a bit of an off moment as well, I'm guessing.
Maybe he went for some corrective action and slowed down to prevent any damage to himself.
Big Man Joe holding on to that race lead. I wonder how he managed to do that, because that was a proper collision. Vex seemed like he had a good exit out of that corner.
True, I genuinely thought that Big Man Joe also went off track along with Mr. Vex.
He did. And
I was surprised to see him in the lead.
Incredible. Vex is falling down to P4.
Unfortunate. That was actually a good move. I don't know what happened.
Yeah. And that part of the track, Rudra, that's the same part of the track, and correct me if I'm wrong, I could be wrong. Same part of the track where Rusty Nish and Vic356 had the most debated incident in the league this season.
Well, that hairpin is a really, really tricky corner to execute. And if you do it right, you can pull a move every single time.
3-second time penalty for Mr. Wex as well. He's racked up 6-second time penalties so far.
Things are not going his way.
And how Big Man Joe held on to the race lead, I'm still amazed. Rusty Nish had almost everything set out for him to take that race lead away from Big Man Joe, as both the drivers ahead of him were off track. But regardless, if only we had control of all the camera angles in this game. Alan in the chat says Mr. Vex definitely has a chance at a podium. But does he now is the question. And I think you're trying to say something, Rudra, but we're having difficulties hearing you, as Freeze is within a second of SB11. Loses a bit of time there through sector 2 while exiting sector 2. SV11 in the top 6 on wet tires as well. Hydox24, first driver to come out on the wets, but that didn't work in his favor. 13 lap old wets and he's still running P15. 3-second time penalty for Vic356, who's currently running P5. Says Alan, had a chance at the podium. Yes, Mr. Wex did have a chance at the podium, and maybe he still does, but an incident between him and Big Man Joe, that whole incident will be looked at once again. I wonder if Mr. Wex was expecting Big Man Joe to try a bit more ambitious re-entrance onto the track, so he kind of tried pushing him off the track even more, almost tried pushing him off the track in fact, but didn't work in his favor regardless. And Accelerate will lap the avocado. While Rusty Nish runs a P2, Gouts will be overtaken by UK as Thor goes into the pits. I wonder if there was an incident between Gouts and UK. Yep, Gouts is falling, and I just wonder, yes, he was off track. Gouts has lost 2 positions.
That's unfortunate for him because he was doing decently well. He managed to climb back up. And yeah, it's back to square one for him.
And Vic356 making the move on Accelerate. Getting that jump as Accelerate and Mr. Wex both pit. And Mr. Wex will come out on a fresh set of inters, and so does it Accelerate, surprisingly. And Accelerate will come out ahead of SV11, while Mr. Wex will come out behind KDB, splitting the two Williams, I presume. And into the pits goes VPA.
VPA, Thor and Avocado have had shocker of a race today.
Fortunately,
Harinox as well, maybe.
as I mentioned, he was the first one to dive into the pits for wets. As Accelerate gets 3-second time penalty after multiple warnings. Looks like everyone behind Big Man Joe are racking up penalties. And race resumes. Apologies for that. And running P12 Gouts. And looks like there has been an incident of sorts. Accelerate has fallen to P6. P5 freeze resumes. Dives in the pits, Accelerate. Real early pit stop. I am guessing he's serving. He had an issue for sure. Yes. Switches tires, wet tires it is. As the rain comes out even harder. Seems to be bad judgment by Accelerate as he pits after just one lap of intermediates. Ferrello on the tail of Mr. Wex. Meanwhile, up ahead, the gap still stays at 2.6 seconds. Big Man Joe and Rusty Nish. Sector 3 goes yellow as KDB still running P6. Closest driver out there. Yep, Ferrello trying that move on Mr. Wex. Peeks down the inside, doesn't quite get it. Mr. Wex still holding on to P7 as the rain comes down all the more. And he dives into the pits for a set of wets, I presume, as Ferrello will take a P7 and will be behind his teammate once again.
Mr. Wex and Accelerate have had horrible strategy calls in the last few laps. Not what they were expecting the race to be.
3 laps to go. And Accelerate running P8 as Wex will come out P9 ahead of UK. Freeze still out on the intermediates as he laps D Avocado.
Astonished how Freeze is making the inters work. Hats off to him.
C56 still running in a podium position place. SV11 would really enjoy being on the podium, I'm sure. 3-second time penalty for Rusty Nish. He's been racking up quite a bit as well. Post-race penalties might just decide who's going to come out on P2 and P3 positions at the end of this race.
It's a concern. And if there are any of our viewers who are MotoGP fans, you would like to know that Joan Mir from Suzuki Racing has been crowned the world champion after today. He won the race and Suzuki won the world championship as well for constructors.
That's incredible. Congratulations
Their
to that
first
team.
world champion in 20 years. Now that is something to be very, very happy for.
Yep. Oh. That's incredible. A champion, a new world champion after quite some time is always something to be happy about as KDB makes the move on Freeze goes up to P5. He's trying to hold on there, going through the hairpin. KDB still running P5, SV11 up in P4, Fix 356 running P3, and Big Man Joe in a steady lead up front. Closing that gap, Rusty Nish. Now the gap's in the sub 2 seconds range. "17 seconds the gap between Rusty Nish and Vix 356. P2 and P3, 17 seconds. So maybe, just maybe, regardless of the amount of time penalties Rusty Nish has, he could possibly seal a P2 at least. But P1, even if he does overtake Big Man Joe, will be a questionable one.
Definitely true. I think the best Rusty can do right now is a P2. Big Man Joe has it in the bag, and we will see a 7-time race winner.
Penultimate lap. He's on the penultimate lap, Big Man Joe. As he comes through sector 3, he will be starting his final lap. Drivers closest to each other on grid is Ferrello and Freeze, and I just wonder if Ferrello will try and make a move on Freeze going into the final lap. Gouts has left the session. Now this opens up possibly a position, but nasty exit for Freeze, and down the inside he did peak. Ferrello wheel to wheel, Mercedes versus Williams, and Ferrello has it in the bag. He goes up into P6 as one of the drivers out on track. Nope, seemed to be some kind of ball out or something. Either ways, Freeze lost another position to Williams. P5, P6, possibly the best team finish for the Williams. For both cars, they're the only two cars in the top 10, apart from the two Red Bulls who are in P4, P10, P11. Okay, no, Sicknick running P11. So it's just the two Williams. And Big Man Joe enters sector 3. What a season it's been. What a season it's been, and what a race he's driven. As he goes through a couple of more corners, and he will take the race win. I'm sure 3-second penalty for High Rocks 24. No drivers are within a second of each other. Penultimate corner, and the final corner for the 7th time in the Bwoah Racing League. The driver's title winner wins the German GP, and Rusty Nish comes across the line P2, and I wonder if he'll keep it. Vix 356, bit of a moment there for him through sector 3.
Inching towards the finish line, all he needs to do is keep it in check. There's a lot of water on the track now.
Yep, incredible amount as Vix 356 crosses the line, trying to hold it together, has a slight collision, but regardless holds it. P3 it is. SV11 comes across the line. P4, and KDB and Ferrello will be finishing right behind each other.
I think that settles it, that Rusty Nish
sliding
gets P3.
Yep, sliding all over track, and Ferrello right behind him. And it's the battle to the finish. Accelerate on the tail of Freeze. Could he possibly try something? No, he won't. But time penalties matter, and Accelerate goes up into P7 as Freeze finishes P8. Mr. Wex, after a disappointing race, finishes P9 in the points. UK sliding all on track. A classic crash by the man himself. Can he inch through the finish line? Yes, he does. P10 manages to secure one single point. And Sicknick,
he's lucky not to have DNF from the session.
Off track, way off track, gravel all the more, and across the line, P11 for the Red Bull driver. And that is the wrap of season number 3 at the Bwoah Racing League. And what a season it's been. 7 times the race winner, Big Man Joe. 7 times. And I wonder, going into the next season, what kind of battles you're going to see, and will we have newer race winners? It's the Alfa Romeo on the top step of the podium once again. Rusty Nish right there in P2. Wixie 56 on the podium to finish off a brilliant season. Rudra, which was your favorite moment of the season?
I guess for the memes, it has to be the one where Big Man Joe won his championship without racing for that race. But if I had to have to say a beautiful moment, I would say Rusty Nish winning at Monza. Breeze winning in France comes a close second for me.
Yep, Rusty Nish winning in Italy. That was incredible. Seems like Big Man Joe, KDB, as well as Rocket Man drove clean races all around, and that's gonna matter all the more going into the next season as we go into equal performance and a lot more we should hear in a video from Rudra and me. And for the 12 of y'all who stayed till the very end, thank you so much for watching us. I'm pretty sure at some point y'all came in for the bunch of races we had in the past couple of months, and we look forward to see you next season starting off in January. Until then, Rudra, I'll see you around. Cheers.
Bye bye.